Notations for derivatives. Welcome, everyone. Today, we are going to explore the different notations used for derivatives. Now, as you begin to dive deeper into the study of differential equations, you will frequently encounter what we call higher-order derivatives. This simply means you aren't just differentiating a function once, but you are taking the derivative of a derivative, and so on. As you might imagine, if we try to write all of these out using the standard Leibniz notation, you know, that fraction-style notation we are all used to, the equations can quickly become very cumbersome, cluttered, and quite time-consuming to write. Because of this, to ensure clarity and to make mathematical communication much more efficient, mathematicians have developed various shorthand notations. In the next few slides, I will show you how we transition from those long, complex expressions to much simpler, more elegant symbols. Understanding the need for notations. Now that we've established that higher-order derivatives are common in differential equations, let's look at why we actually need different ways to write them. When we perform our very first differentiation on a function, where y equals f of x, we typically use the standard Leibniz notation, writing it as di dx. This is perfectly fine for a single step. However, imagine you are working on a complex problem where you need to differentiate that same function 5 or even 10 times in a row. If you keep writing out that entire fraction-style notation every single time, your equations are going to become incredibly cluttered, messy, and difficult to read. To prevent this clutter and make our mathematical communication much more efficient, we use two main shorthand methods. We have prime notation, which you might also hear referred to as Lagrange's notation, and we continue to use the Leibniz notation for more formal structures. In the next few slides, I'm going to break down exactly how these different notations look as we move from the first derivative all the way up to the nth order. Breakdown of common notations. Now that we understand why we need these different notations to avoid cluttering our work, let's take a closer look at how we actually move from one style to another. On this next slide, I'm going to show you a step-by-step transition. We will start with the standard Leibniz notation, which you're likely already familiar with, and see how it gradually transforms into the much simpler, shorthand notations we'll be using for higher-order derivatives. The first derivative. Now that we understand why we need these shorthand methods to avoid cluttered equations, let's look at the simplest case, the first derivative. When we take the derivative of y with respect to x, we can use the standard Leibniz notation, which we write as dy, dx. However, to save time and keep our work clean, we can simply write this as y prime. It's the exact same operation, just a much quicker way to express it. The second derivative. Now that we have established what the first derivative looks like using both Leibniz and prime notation, let's step up one level. If we take that first derivative we just discussed and differentiate it once more, we arrive at what we call the second derivative. In Leibniz notation, you'll notice the notation becomes slightly more complex. We place a superscript 2 on the d in the numerator and a superscript 2 on the x in the denominator, which we write as d squared y, all over dx squared. To keep things simple and avoid that clutter we mentioned earlier, we can use the shorthand version, which is simply y double prime. This is essentially just the derivative of the derivative. The third derivative. Now that we have mastered the first and second derivatives, let's follow this pattern one step further. If we take the derivative of the second derivative we just discussed, we arrive at what we call the third derivative. In the formal Leibniz notation, this is written as d cubed y, all over dx cubed. However, to keep things efficient and avoid that cluttered look we mentioned earlier, we can use the shorthand prime notation, which is written as y triple prime. The nth order derivative. Now you might be wondering, what happens when we need to go even further? As we move into higher orders, say the fourth, fifth, or even the nth derivative, you'll notice that adding more and more prime dashes, like we saw in the previous slides with double and triple primes, simply becomes impractical and very difficult to read. To solve this, mathematicians use a much cleaner notation. We use y with an n in parentheses to denote the order of the derivative. In formal Leibniz notation, this is written as d to the power of n of y, all over dx to the power of n, which is exactly equal to y with an n in parentheses. This allows us to represent any level of differentiation clearly, no matter how high the order. Real-world application, kinematics in physics. Now that we have mastered the different ways to write derivatives, let's see how these notations actually work in a real-world scenario. We can find a very practical application in physics, specifically when we are studying kinematics, which is the study of motion. To start, let's define our variables. Imagine we have an object moving along a path. We will let's represent the position of that object, and we will use t to represent time. Now, let's apply the notations we just learned to the different stages of motion. First, we have velocity, which we denote with the letter v. Velocity is simply the first derivative of position with respect to time. Using our Leibniz notation, we write this as des, dt. But, as we saw in the previous slides, we can use the much simpler prime notation, writing it as prime. Next, let's look at acceleration, denoted by a. Acceleration is the second derivative of position, or you can think of it as the first derivative of velocity. In Leibniz notation, this is written as squared s over dt squared. To keep things clean and avoid that cluttered look we discussed earlier, we can simply write it as double prime. Finally, we have something called jerk, represented by the letter j. This is the third derivative of position, which measures the rate at which acceleration changes. In its formal Leibniz form, it is cubed s over dt cubed, but in shorthand, we call it triple prime. As you can see, by using s prime, s double prime, and s triple prime, physicists can write out complex equations of motion much more concisely without the math looking overwhelming. In our next slide, we will wrap up this lesson by summarizing the key takeaways and highlighting some common pitfalls to watch out for. Key takeaways. First, let's revisit Leibniz notation. When you see the expression d, superscript n, y all over d, x, superscript n, remember that this is the formal, standard way to express the nth derivative. It's the most precise way to show exactly which variable we are differentiating with respect to. Next, we have prime notation. As we saw in our step-by-step breakdown, using y prime, y double prime, and y triple prime serves as a much quicker shorthand for the first, second, and third derivatives. It's much cleaner to look at, especially when you're working through long calculations. However, as we discussed when looking at higher-order derivatives, adding too many prime marks becomes messy and hard to read. That is why we use the notation y, with n in parentheses, to denote the nth derivative. This keeps our work organized even when the order of differentiation gets high. Finally, the most important thing to remember is consistency. Whether you are using the formal Leibniz style or the shorthand prime notation, all of these symbols refer to the exact same mathematical operation: the repeated process of differentiating a dependent variable with respect to an independent variable. All right, let's bring everything together and recap the key takeaways from today's lesson on notations. Now, before we wrap up, I want to point out a few common pitfalls that students often encounter, so please pay close attention to the next slide. Common mistakes to avoid. First, please be careful not to confuse powers with derivatives. A very common error I see students make is confusing y double prime, which represents the second derivative, with y squared, which is simply the square of y. It is vital to always remember that the prime symbol, that little tick mark, denotes the process of differentiation, whereas a superscript number denotes an exponent. One represents a rate of change, and the other represents repeated multiplication. Second, let's look at the Leibniz notation again. You must ensure that the order is placed correctly. When we are writing the second derivative, the number 2 must be placed on the operator d in the numerator. so it looks like d squared y, and also on the variable x in the denominator, so it looks like dx squared. If you were to write it as di squared over dx squared, that would be mathematically incorrect, as it implies you are squaring the function y rather than differentiating it twice. Now, before we wrap up today's lesson, I want to touch on some common pitfalls. As we've seen throughout these slides, moving between Leibniz notation and prime notation can be tricky, and it's very easy to make a notation error that changes the entire meaning of your equation. Keep these distinctions in mind, and you will maintain the precision required for higher-level mathematics.